Somewhere out there, tumbling endlessly through the pitch black of deep space, is a perfectly preserved human spacecraft, surrounded by nothing but the freezing vacuum of the solar system. It is not a probe. It is not an unmanned satellite. It is a machine built specifically to keep human beings alive, and it is trapped in a lonely orbit around the Sun. For more than 50 years, the Apollo 10 lunar module ascent stage, known to history as Snoopy, has been falling through the dark because it drifts in a pure vacuum. There is no rust. There is no decay. The switches in the cockpit remain locked exactly as they were left in the spring of 1969. It is the ultimate time capsule, perfectly frozen, an angular silver and gold ghost ship drifting alone. But this module was never meant to be abandoned in the abyss. It was built for the moon. The historical record explains exactly why a fully functional spacecraft was intentionally cast away. Yet even knowing the exact moment of its departure, the question of its current location remains entirely unresolved. Every modern astronomical effort to find this pristine vessel has ended in failure, leaving researchers to scan a silent solar system for a target swallowed by the dark. May 1969, two men are sealed inside a fragile aluminum box orbiting the moon. Commander Thomas Stafford and pilot Eugene Cernan are strapped inside the lunar module, known as Snoopy. Apollo 10 is the ultimate dress rehearsal. It is a mission designed to test every mechanism required for a lunar landing, except the landing itself. They drop to just 8.5 miles above the jagged gray craters of the lunar surface. Looking out the triangular window, Cernan would later describe the surreal proximity of the mountains. They were so close, it felt like they could reach out and touch the peaks. Skimming a dead world at immense speed, they trusted their lives to the thin metal walls. The machine performs with absolute precision. Every thruster fires. Every radar system locks onto the rock below. They prove, beyond any doubt, that the spacecraft can navigate the final descent. With their objective complete, they fire the ascent engine. They rise back into the blackness to rendezvous with the command module. The docking is a triumph. They have successfully cleared the path for Apollo 11, but their victory introduces a cold mathematical reality. To reach Earth, the command module must ignite its main engine and break free of lunar gravity. It only carries enough fuel to push its own weight, which means the pristine machine that just kept them alive has become a liability. Stafford and Cernan must close the hatch and leave Snoopy behind. But the module cannot simply be dropped onto the moon. There is only one place to put it, somewhere far beyond the reach of the Earth. Stafford and Cernan pull themselves through the docking tunnel, back into the command module Charlie Brown. They leave behind the cramped, silent cabin of Snoopy. For the last time, they seal the heavy metal hatch. The physics of returning to Earth are absolutely unforgiving. To break out of the grip of lunar gravity, the command module must execute a precise, prolonged engine burn. Every extra pound of mass requires fuel they cannot spare. Dragging an empty lunar module across 240,000 miles of deep space is mathematically impossible. Snoopy has served its purpose, and now it is nothing but dead weight. The empty module is commanded to fire its ascent engine to depletion. Through the thick glass of the command module window, a sudden brilliant flare of the thruster erupts against the pitch-black void. Because there is no atmosphere, there is no smoke, just a blinding flash, pushing the silver and gold geometry away. At immense speed, Stafford and Cernan watch the craft shrink into a single point of light. It becomes just another star, fading away forever. The engine burn accelerates Snoopy completely out of lunar orbit. It is thrown outward, and as the astronauts finally turn their nose back toward Earth, they leave behind a perfectly intact machine, plunging blindly into the eternal night. The explosive thrust of the engine is eventually replaced by absolute silence. Snoopy is now entirely alone. It drifts through an environment hostile to biology, but perfect for preservation. Because there is no oxygen in the deep void. The thin aluminum hull cannot rust because there is no moisture. The delicate internal wiring remains completely intact. Inside the darkened cabin, the space is exactly as it was on that day in 1969. The handwritten flight checklists are still clamped to the control panels. The scuff marks from Eugene Cernan's boots remain undisturbed on the floor. Every dial, every gauge, every switch sits frozen in the exact position it was left. On Earth, weather and time dismantle everything we abandon. Metal corrodes, structures collapse, and history is buried. But Snoopy is immune to the passage of time on our world. It has become an artificial planet, circling the sun in a vast, eternal orbit, a sterile tomb, locked in a pure vacuum. Yet 50 years after it disappeared into the dark, astronomers back on Earth finally decided to look for it. For more than 4 decades, the exact location of Snoopy was considered a lost cause. The math required to track a 14-foot object tumbling millions of miles away was thought to be insurmountable. But in the year 2011, a team of astronomers led by Nick Howes initiated Project Snoopy. Using the massive lenses of the Fox telescope project, they began sweeping the deep space coordinates where the module was last seen. The strategy relied on pure orbital physics. If they could account for 50 years of gravitational drift caused by the Sun and the Earth, they could predict its current trajectory. They were looking for a single moving pixel, shifting against a background of billions of static stars. For years, the observatories scanned the absolute blackness. They gathered mountains of digital telemetry. They identified dozens of drifting asteroids and dead booster rockets from other forgotten missions. But a lunar module is microscopic compared to the vastness of a heliocentric orbit. The gold Captain foil might reflect the sun, but the resulting flash would be incredibly faint. Even with the best predictive models, the error margins over half a century are staggering. A fraction of a degree in 1969 translates to millions of miles of empty space today. The researchers were not just fighting distance, they were fighting the unforgiving mechanics of time. As the search dragged on, the reality of the geometry began to set in. The telescope lenses were powerful enough to capture the light, but the sheer volume of empty space they had to search was rapidly turning the math against them. In the end, the astronomers had to concede to the scale of our star system. The search for the Apollo 10 ascent stage was quietly abandoned. After half a century of gravitational influence from Earth, Venus, and Jupiter, the predicted orbit had degraded into mathematical chaos. Snoopy could be anywhere, along a path stretching for hundreds of millions of miles. It is no longer just a lost piece of hardware. It has become an independent celestial body, bound only by the gravity of the sun. The only machine constructed by human hands that is now completely unreachable by the species that built it, floating in absolute silence. It carries a perfect physical record of 1969, but there is no one left to read it, and no engine powerful enough to catch it. Long after the launch pads at Cape Canaveral have crumbled into dust, and long after the last Apollo records fade, Snoopy will still be falling through the dark, a flawless geometric ghost, carrying the fingerprints of 2 men, preserved in an eternal vacuum. It was built to last for a handful of days. Instead, it became the only human artifact that might truly last forever.